Let's see, wait till I'm live here. Holy, this takes forever to YouTube to go live. Okay, I'm live. Hello, everybody. How's it going? So this is going to be a capital hungry self-development webinar, mainly focused on the topic of mainly, mainly focused on the topic of delaying instant gratification. Okay, so the main thing I want to talk about today with all of you is that within the Western side of society and how society has developed, we have noticed that we have a stronger and stronger attachment to all technology, and especially social media and our various screens that we are always on, whether it be our phone or whatever it may be on. Okay, so what we're heavily noticing in the Western side of society is as this attachment to technology grows deeper, so does our addiction to short-term dopamine hits and short-term dopamine satisfaction. And there's a heavy correlation where as technology gets more convenient and dopamine gets easier to access, whether it be through substances or various social media platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, and so forth, we're noticing that the same time this is progressing, so is depression, suicide, and mental illness within people, right? So why is this? Why is there such a big disconnect between the people feeling fulfilled as well as this increase in suicide rates, depression, mental illness, and so forth? Why do we have this huge correlation? Well, let me explain to you. People within the Western side of society are no longer living a fulfilling life. They are now constantly just trapped within their phones and computers. And even though the world is more connected than it's ever been, people feel more alone than they have ever been. And even how these various social media apps are progressing, we're seeing that the way these applications are designed, it's meant to decrease a person's patience and also decrease their attention span. So an example with TikTok, you have a huge plethora of endless scrolling videos, or even on Instagram or YouTube Shorts, where they're very short, quick videos. And the reason that they are designing videos this way is because they understand psychologically that people's attention span and patience is decreasing, and their dependence on technology and convenience is increasing, right? But that's very easy to understand if you guys remember that from my previous psychology webinars, that the world in society in the Western side of the world is extremely mentally ill and sick because they no longer live a life of value or a life of self-development and fulfillment, because their happiness comes with a connection to a short-term dopamine hit that can come from a substance, abusing social media, and so forth, right? So in an age where the generations, including mine and the next generations, have so much more resources, so much more information, so much more access to the internet, to be able to network, to meet other people, to learn whatever they want. This is also the generation with the lowest amount of work ethic and least amount of work ethic in terms of applying themselves through education and jobs, as well as the highest levels of depression and dependencies on various mental stimulants or mental substances. For example, anti-anxiety pills, anxiety medication, depression medication. You guys know it. Nowadays, if a teenager is to go to the doctor's office and say he is feeling tired, say he's feeling depressed and low energy, he is not told to go develop himself physically or mentally. He's not asked about what his diet is. He's not asked about how much he sleeps. He's not asked about how much his activity is. The only thing they're given is instantly, oh, you have this mental illness, then we're going to give you this pill. You're going to go down this funnel and path. So it's extremely, extremely toxic, but we have to understand this is the way it's meant to be. Through history, the strong have always conquered the weak. There's always been a select population controlling the majority of the population. Even though this behavior and these patterns by the masses is extremely destructive to them as an individual person, it is extremely profitable for corporate America and corporations around the world, as well as these companies who get to make money on all of this data and tension. The biggest commodity before social media and big data came into play, the biggest commodity in the world used to be oil. Now the most sold and largest commodity is people's awareness, attention, and data. Because when you have all of that information and you understand your demographic, now you can market, advertise, and program them into whatever way you wish. So these destructive habits and patterns that are being led by the masses on repeat day after day, the same way that you would go to the gym and develop yourself physically and go through reps and go through that repetition of following healthy life choices, whether it be working out, watching your diet, getting sufficient rest. It's a repetitive cycle that creates your body as the end result after days and weeks of that work being put in. The input of that you as the human being are putting in is your time, effort, and work ethic into developing yourself into having a stronger physical body and stronger mental well-being. The output is that end result itself. But with working out, you don't essentially get that instant gratification until you put in the work in your workout and you feel satisfied after the workout, or until after 3 to 6 months or years worth of consistent work, until you finally see your body develop. Now, the same way you have that repetition, and the same way you have that potential development of yourself physically, is the same cycle and same concept that the masses are following for bad behavioral patterns. The majority of people do not look at what they consume, both physically or visually. They are just living on autopilot like zombies, going through the emotions, eating whatever they feel like eating, watching whatever they feel like watching, and they don't even understand that their feelings have already been programmed by big corporate America, by the media, to constantly chase after the next short-term dopamine hit and instant gratification measure, right? So this is something that's already been well known and well discussed in previous psychology webinars. If you guys go to zoom out on that and understand how that works, right? What I want to discuss here is a tool for success that we understand the majority of the population. Let's look at statistics. The majority of the population now is not making as much money as they want. They do not watch what they eat or consume. They only eat based on feelings or based on convenience, what's easy to order, what's easy to get, and so forth, right? They also are not being fulfilled mentally as they're constantly chasing short-term dopamine satisfactions and constantly on their phones, Netflix, porn, whatever it may be on the computer playing video games. They're spending way too much time and effort into various hobbies and activities that have no positive end result for them down the road. All it does is destroy them physically, mentally, and financially, and they end up becoming a part of this vicious cycle that you can't get out of because you're just addicted to these short-term dopamine hits and satisfactions, right? The whole purpose of this webinar is not to identify that. It's already very clear to see that mental illness, suicide rates, and various illnesses such as depression and anxiety is going through the roof. It's very easy to see that men's testosterone has dropped over 50% in 40 years. These are all statistics, right? It's very easy to see that this generation and the coming generations have the lowest attention span and lowest work ethic in history. And this can all be confirmed, and you can go check this data yourself. So let's look at that. We can identify that the majority and the masses are falling into that category. When we simply ask ourselves, do I want to live that way? I can come to a very clear answer that the answer is no. I do not want to be a zombie living on autopilot, only chasing short-term dopamine, as well as destroying myself physically, mentally, and financially, but supporting the pockets of the 1%ers in corporate America. I do not want to live like that. Okay. there's probably many others who feel that they're stuck in this vicious cycle and they can't get out, but they don't want to live this way. If you really had the majority of people sit down quietly without their phone for a day and reflect what they want out of life, it would not be, you would not get the answers that I want to sit on TikTok all day. I want to sit on Instagram all day. I want to play video games. I want to be fat. I want to be lazy. I want to be unhealthy. You would not get those answers. But that's what people's actions show day after day after day after day, right? So this whole webinar is going to be very short and sweet, and it's about delaying instant gratification and reprogramming and rewiring our brains to focus on our long-term wants and desires, our goals, not just what we're feeling day after day, but what we truly want out of life. And if you go ask majority of men what they want out of life from a physical, financial, or mental perspective, they don't want to be depressed. They don't want to have anxiety. They don't want to make minimum wage. They don't want to be fat or extremely skinny or extremely unhealthy. If you ask them in their head the vision that they have of themselves as the ideal best version of themselves, it is someone who is wealthy. It is someone who is in extremely good shape. It is someone who is knowledgeable and experienced. It's someone who has a strong network of people around them. And it's someone who has a strong self-confidence and value of their own morals and ethics. But how many people are actually falling into that category day after day? And it is their fault, but it's also the way society is meant to be. Society is meant to have the majority of the population dependent on the government, dependent on corporations, and dependent on external stimulants or stimuli for their support. The government, the corporation, the one percenters, the whales, they don't like people who are independent individual thinkers and can go out and fend for themselves. They don't need this dopamine hit. They're working on long-term satisfaction instead of short-term satisfaction. So what I suggest for the majority of people, including myself, is that for us to find success in whatever aspect of life, whether it be financially or whether it be physically, we have to do the exact complete behavioral opposite of what the 99% in majority do. It doesn't matter if you're dirt broke right now. It doesn't matter if you're fat as fuck. It doesn't matter if you have no knowledge in whatever you're trying to learn. You have to get up and make the change today to replace all of those hobbies and activities that give you instant gratification, such as consumption of certain substances and stimuli, short-term satisfaction that comes with social media, excessive playing of video games where you're not actually making money off your pursuit of video games or your passion, right? So it could be video games, Netflix, watching too much TV, watching too many movies or shit. Whatever it may be that's giving you short-term dopamine hits during the day after day, you have to first be able to sit down, be self-aware enough and say, okay, through my day, I start and I go, whatever age you are, doesn't matter. I go to school and I go to work. Okay, that takes up 8 to 12 hours of my day. Then what do I do for that other 5 hours, 3 to 6 hours before I go to sleep? What am I doing every day? I haven't really identified. Let me go check my phone. Holy shit, I spend 2 hours a day on TikTok. I spend 2 hours a day on Instagram. I spend 2 hours a day on Netflix. I spend 3 hours a day on Pornhub, on whatever it may be, right? First, you have to be able to be self-aware enough and dissect your own behavior and your own poor emotional and behavioral patterns. Once you do that, you have to be able to slowly or transition into Xing out those short-term chasing dopamine hit activities, whether it be porn, OnlyFans, fucking, you know what I mean? Netflix, playing too many video games, gambling, substance abuse, social media all day. You have to learn to replace those with activities and hobbies that delay instant gratification. Now, the issue is when you go through this process of self-awareness and you go out to identify your bad behavioral patterns, right? When you start to change and go into habits and activities that delay instant gratification, your brain is going to trick you into thinking you are miserable. Because for the last period of years, your brain and mind has been overstimulated by the short-term dopamine hits that it doesn't even understand what true satisfaction is anymore. Everything is always so short-lived. The attention span of the people is getting smaller and smaller and shorter. The patience of people is getting shorter and shorter, right? And people's dependence on convenience, ease, and not wanting to put work ethic in is raising through the roof, and depression and all this mental illness is raising through the roof. These generations coming up are the most unhealthy generation physically, is the most mentally depressed generation, but has the most resources available at their fingertips to develop themselves in any way they want. What does this show you? This shows you that the majority of people are being programmed into this pathway and into this funnel on purpose because it supports the pockets of the 1%, it supports the wealthy, and it keeps their generational wealth chugging away while it destroys your livelihood and your well-being. Okay? So, for example, let's just say right now you spend 2 hours a day on social media, and instead you're going to X that out and you're going to replace it by actually physically reading a book. Physically reading a book brings value to you if it's on a topic that can bring you some new education or knowledge to your life, right? So the reason why is because it's something that is not marketing something to you. It's not trying to sell anything to you. It's a book that is on a specific topic, industry, or information, whether it be on psychology, the financial markets, business, real estate, sales. I don't give a shit. There's no sales pitch, there's no advertising, there's no endless scrolling. You have to physically sit there, read the book, and get through the entire book to understand the entire content and finally get some satisfaction out of it. But when you first go through stopping scrolling on TikTok and going to go read books, your brain is going to find it as the most boring, mundane shit ever. You're going to think you are miserable. You're going to feel so bored. You're going to have trouble focusing. You're going to have trouble even reading a couple of pages because you're not used to actually putting your time and effort into something that brings you value. You are used to putting your time and effort into something that gives you a short-term dopamine hit and then scrolling to the next one or starting another video game or going to the next porno or watching another episode of something on Netflix, right? So this whole webinar is about replacing bad habits and hobbies that give you short-term dopamine hits but do not benefit you in any way. So go through this assessment of yourself. Look at yourself and say, what do I do every single day? How do I actually spend every single precious minute? Remember, time is money, okay? Time is money, and your time is being absolutely taken from you, not even just at work anymore or just working for somebody, with your attention, with how much time you're spending on these screens, on the video games, on the nonsense. It's being taken from you. That's literally being money taken from your pockets, being put into other pockets, and you have no time left to do anything for yourself, and you just deteriorate. Us humans are working creatures. We are meant to be moving. When we stay still, we rust. We deteriorate. We're not meant to be stagnant. We're meant to be actively moving. Our bodies produce energy, watts, heat. That just shows us we're not supposed to be just sitting here. Our bodies are like a machine. We need certain fuel to keep it going. We produce watts and heat. We have brain activity going at all the time. We're not meant to be stagnant. When a person is stagnant, that's when they get depressed. That's when they don't feel fulfilled. That's when they feel miserable. That's when they feel anxious. That's when you're sitting alone with your thoughts and your feelings and you're trapped in your mind, not making any changes, and you enter this vicious cycle. And guess what? Entering this vicious cycle within our modern society is promoted. Big corporate America, the government, they want you to enter this vicious cycle. They want you to chase short-term dopamine hits and keep paying your taxes and keep working away at your dead-end job, keep being miserable. Because when you are chasing short-term dopamine hits, you are no longer a productive human. You are a productive consumer. You are the perfect consumer. All you do is consume. Whether it be physically or visually, all you do all day is consume. The video games, the media, whatever it may be. Consume, 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 consume. You no longer are producing anything of value. There's no more humans producing something that brings value to their life. You don't have to go chase being a billionaire, being a millionaire. But I promise you, if you make these little changes in your life, it will bring you fulfillment. It'll bring you true value. It'll bring you a sense of self-worth. It'll bring you actual growth within your mental and physical well-being. And your financial well-being will follow after that. As soon as you understand how the world really works and you take yourself out of that pathway and align yourself with what you really want to do in life. Okay? So, I do not want to make this webinar too long. But the steps I'm going to give everybody is first, sit alone with yourself in a dark room by yourself for a couple of hours. Put your phone away. Put your screens away. Get a piece of paper. Get a pen. Sit down and write every single day. What do you do with every single hour and every single minute of the day? Write down how many hours you sleep, when you eat, when you wake up, how many hours you go to work, if you're commuting, right? If you're going to school, write it all down. And then see how many free hours you have after the things you must do, such as going to work, such as eating, and such as sleeping. After that, log what you're doing with those free hours. You're going to realize majority of your 3 to 6 to 8 free hours are going back into the pockets of the 1%, into the pockets of corporate America. Because those free hours, you feel so tired, you feel so miserable after work. Oh, I'm tired, it was a long commute, it was a long day. You know what all that is? When you're complaining after your work, or you're complaining in traffic, or you're complaining that you had to deal with a poor customer or XYZ, that's your brain trying to trigger you that you're unhappy and trying to get you to chase into a short-term dopamine hit. That's your brain manipulating you. Let's be honest, all of the majority of issues that we face in the Western side of the world are what we call first world problems. They're not real problems linked to survival. Majority is, oh, I was late for my bus, or this customer was an asshole, or I had an extra hour commute. It's not something that's really impacting your livelihood or impacting your state of being. It's something that are issues that have been developed in the Western side of the world because it wants to push you towards short-term dopamine hits, right? So you have to understand, you have to first identify what you're doing every single hour of the day, and then any activity that's giving you a short-term dopamine hit, X it out. Netflix, porn, video game. It's not about being productive 24/7. This is also the same person who is trying to make fun of me being in shape and being like, you know what I mean? Because you're not in shape, because you feel like shit. It is within our nature to be productive human beings. It's within our nature to be working machines. It's scientifically proven with how we produce energy and how we're not meant to be stagnant. When a person is stagnant and spends too much time on pleasure rather than production, they become unhealthy. Is that not fact? So go check the statistics yourself, right? Now, once you figure out those various activities that you're wasting hours a day on, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, Netflix, video games, guess what? It's going to be very hard to admit to yourself that you're wasting your time here. Do you understand that? Because your brain is going to tell you, but wait, you deserve this little break. You deserve this rest. You deserve this little bit of enjoyment. You worked hard at your job. Your brain is going to fool you into thinking you deserve that. But if you deserve it so much, then how come it has no end result for you? If it's so useful to your growth that you deserve this break, you deserve this pleasure, then how come it has no positive end result? How come it just ends up being time and hours wasted within that mindless activity? Remember, input in the world equals output. If you go to the gym and you put the time into your diet, physical activity, and rest, you will have the output of developing yourself in a better physical shape, right? So within those hours, when you waste your hours playing video games or going on porn or going on Netflix or going on social media, when you waste your hours on that, what is the end result? What have you achieved? What have you accomplished? You still end up feeling depressed on days. You still end up having anxiety. How come you're not in a better mental state even though you gave yourself that pleasure? You gave yourself that rest. You gave yourself that vacation. How come you're still waking up depressed? How come you're still waking up without pleasure? How come you're still waking up with anxiety? How come you're still waking up not happy with where you are in life? because it's much deeper than that. All that short-term dopamine, it's manipulation. It's to program you into being the perfect consumer. That's it. Go look at it yourself. Really be hard on yourself. Be harder on yourself than anybody else will ever be on you. And look at the hours of the day and look at what you're spending those hours on. Right? And then deduct and say, is this 1 hour, 2 hours on TikTok bringing me value? Is it teaching me anything? Is it making me money? Is it developing my mental health? Is it making my mentality stronger? Is it getting me in better physical shape? Is it bringing me closer to my family and friends? Is it bringing more topics of conversation to the table? No, it's not. It's all mindless. It's all memes. It's all noise. It's all nonsense. Then look at when you're on your video games. Are you monetizing this? Is it bringing you value? Is it making your mental health better? Or are you wasting time and effort and overplaying video games? Same thing with porn. Same thing with any lack of physical activity. But when you look at activities that delay instant gratification, such as learning a new skill set, which might take a lot of time and effort to actually learn the skill set and go through the trial and error, but at the end of it, you gain a new skill set. You gain new knowledge. You potentially gain a new network of people you met as you were learning about that skill set. Think about working out. Do you have instant gratification watching your diet, not eating all this sugar, going to the gym and literally tearing your muscles down so they can rebuild? Think about how muscles grow. For a muscle to grow, you must literally tear it down so it can rebuild back stronger. Where is the pleasure or instant gratification in that? The scientific process between muscle and physical development growth literally comes from putting your body through stress and tension and hardship. You can apply that same science to anything else, to any other industry, to any other topic of conversation on how you want to develop yourself. Okay? So now, what are some examples of activities or hobbies that delay instant gratification? Let's go in the chat here. Let's brainstorm together. All right? I got some off the top of the head. Exercise. Any type of exercise. Another thing is actually watching your diet. Being active and noting down and writing down what you eat every day and are you properly fueling your body. So the gym, exercise, and all that is a great one. Another one that's being heavily neglected, reading. Reading. That's something else that's being heavily neglected. Reading, meditation, and developing your mentality and psychology as well. Right? This is all about rewiring our brain and going against the 99% who are depressed, miserable, getting closer and closer to suicide, not happy with how much they're earning, not happy with their physical state of being, they have no confidence. Okay, fine. That's fine. If you want to be a part of that, if you want to live your life like that, hey, by all means, go fucking enjoy. But if you want to do greater things, if you want to be in better physical shape, if you want to have more confidence, if you want to be cocky like Jeev over here and have a better understanding of the markets and psychology, we have to do the exact opposite. Okay? This is the reason that I am going through the process of quitting marijuana after 10 years of daily use of it. You think I want to quit weed? Weed's great. I love it. But is it bringing me any value? Is it bringing me any financial gain? Is it helping me grow? No. It's actually wasting my money. It's actually wasting my time. And it's actually declining my fucking mentality. It's not making me as sharper as in the moment. It makes me numb out and avoid reality. Right? Do you guys think I'm enjoying this process? Fuck no. But when my brain is telling me, oh, go back to weed, go back to that dopamine hit, my brain is trying to manipulate me because it's already been programmed to follow that short-term dopamine hit by society, right? So the best advice I can give, if you have an addiction to various substances, try to cut them out or cut them down. It could be sugar, it could be marijuana, it could be massive caffeine, it could be other harder drugs, right? Now, also, once you identify those activities that bring you short-term dopamine satisfactions, like I gave you guys that whole list there, Cut them out and replace them with activities that delay instant gratification. And understand now, be self-aware enough now that you're going to understand that when you go through this process, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be extremely hard. But I fucking promise you, on my life, on Capital Hungry, on everything that I stand for, I promise you, I'm spitting on the screen, I promise you that you will be happier in the long term. I promise you that you will feel more fulfilled. I promise you that you will feel more knowledgeable, more experienced, more in tune with what's going on and involved in the moment. I promise you will have more willpower and power of your own choice if you go through this process. Let's all do it together. For the next 3 months, 90 days, to change all of our bad habits, let's go through it together. Number 1, identify what you do with every single hour of the day. Number 2, be self-aware and critical enough to know the activities and hobbies that you're doing that are bringing you no value, that are wasting your time, that are wasting your money, time, effort, and activity. All right? Number 3, replace those activities and daily hobbies that are bad habits and do nothing for yourself with hobbies and activities that delay instant gratification. Learning a new skill set, actually going and taking the time to learn a new skill set. Reading, meditation, working out and exercising, watching your diet and what you eat, cooking, learning how to cook, various skill sets and hobbies and activities, waking up early that bring you value, that bring you a new skill set, that bring you meeting new people, learning new things, actually develops yourself mentally or physically. Okay? My head is too small. Oh my God. Ugh. My head is too small for my body. That's okay. Trust me. That's okay. Oh man. Holy. Oh shh. Come on. Come on. I feel great. I still got some. You know what I mean? I feel great. So it's up to you guys. If you want to feel the same, like I feel great. You know what I mean? I've developed myself with a lot of knowledge. Listen, how many of you guys love the market knowledge I give? That's because I chose to put time and effort into learning that skill set, into learning that information, and all of you guys can learn that as well. You guys can. I'm not special. I don't have a photographic memory. I'm not fucking Einstein. I'm a original hyena gulag retard, like all the people I call retards. I'm an original version of that. But I chose to be something different, and that takes a lot of time and effort to do that, right? So whether your interest is going to be learning more about the financial markets and putting your time into that, whether it's going to be just please, I showed you guys my library. I'm starting to read a lot more books. You guys know I'm going to the gym. You guys know I meal prep and cook. You guys know I trade and day trade myself. You guys know I run the Capital Hungry private service where we have 400 paying members for 2 years. You guys know I do all the YouTube stuff, providing that value and information. You can do it too. You can find what your passion is and direct your energy into things that are more productive. And I'm still telling you guys that I might be this confident. I might be in decent shape. You guys might see me as so knowledgeable, but there are still some demons that I have to beat too. I still have to quit weed. I still have to be more disciplined and patient. I still have to cut out a lot of these short-term dopamine satisfactions as well. I still get caught scrolling on YouTube shorts for 30 minutes and then you're sitting, like I'll be on the toilet taking a shit and I don't even realize until my leg goes numb. You know when your leg falls asleep and then you're like, what the fuck was I just doing for 30 minutes? We're all human. We're all going to make mistakes, but it's about directing ourselves in the right direction. You know what I mean? It's just about putting ourselves on the right path, understanding we have a support system of each other, understanding that we could all do this together, and keeping each other on the right path, increasing our masculinity, increasing our testosterone, increasing our confidence, our understanding of the world, our knowledge. Why not? Why not? We have all the tools and resources right in our fingertips. We have a supercomputer right in front of me now that I'm streaming on. We have a supercomputer in our brain. You have to decide what you put on your hard drive. You have to decide how fast your processor is going to be, what you're saving into your supercomputer, how you're going to use your supercomputer. You have to decide that. But the majority of people, that has been decided for them. Their mental consumption, their physical consumption, it's been decided for them. And their computer is fucking disgusting. It's rotting away, it's breaking down. They don't see no hope out of this. You know what I mean, everybody? So I don't want to make this too long. Thank you guys for attending. But this is all about delaying instant gratification and how I see delaying instant gratification and being able to develop that discipline and patience as a major tool for long-term success. All right? So thank you, everybody. I'm going to see you guys next time. This was the Friday Self-Development Live. I don't want to make these too long. You know what I mean? And I'll see you guys. Everybody have a great weekend. Everybody have a great day. I'll see you guys Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern for the Monday market update. All right?